All right, so let's get into our second to seventh graders. Um, this is the young childhood phase, and this is from about ages 8 to 12. Okay. Um, Remember, this don't mean that your 12-year-old and your 8-year-old are going to be acting identical. It just means that there are milestones for growth and disruption that are characteristics of beings in this age. And when you see them show up, know that they are natural developmental processes. Okay? So, what are the developmental highlights of the young childhood phase? You got children who are exploring their interests. Remember, in the beginning of this stage, they're beginning to get into their critical thinking skills as this young childhood stage begins. So now they're exploring what they actually can cognitively connect to in terms of their interests. You get what I'm saying? Before then, they were just being led along. Oh, you'll like this, you'll like that. I guess I will. Okay, nod and smile, right? But now they're beginning to emerge as their own person. Like, I like this and I like that. They're exploring their sense of self. They're balancing innocence and maturity, and they're balancing imagination and real life. These are just the highlights of the young childhood stage overall. So, in the beginning of this stage, they're learning what truly interests them and how they best like to use their time. You're going to know what those things are if you are willing to just observe them for a while. Because the things that interest them, they're going to naturally gravitate to. And it's likely they didn't start to just align with those interests at this stage. The connection was probably already forming in previous stages. Because why? Development starts in the womb. It don't start when we come out. So, like, as an example, my mother read to me when I was in the womb. She read to me, as an infant and when I was a baby. And in the early childhood stage, you know, um, that's after toddler stage. So we're going to say, like from about 4 to 7. In that stage, I used to love to read and get read to. I couldn't read by myself all like that much, but I used to love getting read to when, in an early childhood stage. And in the neighborhood where I grew up, there is a free library that had a daily story time. I remember going to story time quite frequently. One day I woke up and my sister-in-law and my niece that I used to go to story time with were not at home. And I'm like, well, where is everybody? And guess what? They had gone to story time without me, and they didn't wake me up because they said I was sleeping. They thought I wanted to rest and wanted to respect that. That's cool and everything, but Shorty was livid. And I was so upset with them. And I was just like, don't you ever not wake me up for story time again. Right? So even this is an example of how even though critical thinking skills, right, the young childhood stage starts around age 8, you still going to see some overlap clearly in the early childhood phase. Before I got to age 8 and beyond, I had already solidified my interest in reading, right? So that's just an example about how you're gonna, if you observe them closely enough, you can start to see what they are gravitating toward. Though that's going to give you a clue of what they're interested in, and you'll start to see that increase even more once they emerge more in this stage. Okay. It's in this stage when they start to really solidify and be excited about engaging more in these interests and doing it more independently, like not so much needing to have the adult. Like there was a shift where I would love to have my mom read to me, and then it was like, all right, now you be quiet because I'm going to read to you. I got this. You see what I'm saying? There, it shifts because as we grow and develop, we like to take on more independence. So, start with observing what they naturally do outside of it being connected to the device their eyes are glued to. All right. I don't, this is not saying, I don't want anyone to listen to this and be like, my child just loves that YouTube. I put them on YouTube and they will get on that YouTube, girl, and they will be on there for hours. I'm telling you, they be so quiet. Girl, I done forgot they was in the room. I wouldn't take that to mean that your child is super duper interested in YouTube or video scrolling. I would say shout out to the creators who know how to create addictive algorithms. I wouldn't say that because of different developmental stages, fam. Like the things that interest me and make me want to stop the scroll and sit and watch is not the same thing that would make a young child want to stop the scroll and sit and watch. So, what is it that is making them do that? Is it a genuine interest, or are they being manipulated just by their attentions being manipulated, right? Their senses are being manipulated, so their consciousness and attention can be manipulated, right? So don't get fooled by that, y'all. Um, so yeah, we're not just sitting and observing them on the screen all day and saying, "Whoo, they must be real interested in doing that." Now, of course, I'll hold space for maybe someone actually has a talent. Like you might notice a child is like, you know, technologically advanced, but right. So you might notice that, but you might also notice other things like, are they always reading? Do they have a knack for conversation? Right? Are they super witty? Do they enjoy fixing things? Are they a dancer? Another story my family observed in my early childhood phase. I was about 3. Diana Ross had a concert. I loved the concert. I used to watch it all the time, and I used to mimic her movements, and I would, pretend to sing and dance and perform for the family. So that gave them the idea. She looks like she's interested in dancing. Let's put her in dance school. And that's how I got to be in dance school. So some people just go to dance school, and this is why we started the conversation with what is it that you want? What do parents and caregivers want for their children during summer vacation? And I asked us to think about it from the adult perspective first, because are we doing things because we feel connected to the reason that we're doing them, or are we doing them because we are on autopilot and it was a thing that was done for us? You know how many children go to dance school who don't really want to be there, but they go because they're a little girl, and that's what their parents did in childhood to learn discipline or to learn how to be graceful or whatever. So now you got to go to dance school too. I don't have no interest in that. We were just talking about this the other day. Um, when our very first dance recital, one of my cousin, bless her heart, she sat with the routine. I remember it like it was yesterday, y'all, and it was over 35 years ago. The routine was the birthday party. That's what the dance routine was called, and we there was the guests and there was the birthday girl, and all the guests had props, and the prop was a big present, and we were dancing with this big present and doing all the things to depict this birthday party scene on this stage. And my cousin was not here for any of that shit, and she sat on that big ass present and crossed her arms and her legs and was like, just watching us. I'll wait for them to finish. I'll be here when they done. When I tell you, my cousin stole. Come on with it, Source, because you don't ever play around. My cousin stole the show without doing any of the fucking choreography because she was being herself. She wasn't doing what she was being told to do. She had no interest in it. Y'all see what I'm saying? But she stole the show. I'm talking about standing ovation, everyone clapping, cheering, laughing at her. I mean, for years, the only thing people would talk about when it came to that recital was not how beautifully I danced, not how many awards I received, but they talked so much about how she sat on that present and was like, "Go ahead, y'all, do y'all thing. I'll wait." Big Leo energy. Shout out to my cousin C. But y'all see what I'm talking about? So why did she go to dance school? She wasn't interested in it, but someone had an idea that that's what she should do because she's a little girl child, right? So that's why I asked y'all the question earlier. Why? What is it? What do you want out of it, and why? And make sure that what you want out of it and your reason why. Make sure it's your personal connection, and we're releasing our conditioned connections. I love dancing, I love choreography, but if I ever had a daughter who didn't show her own natural emergent skills in desiring dance or being a natural dancer on her own, I don't have no business putting her in dance school just because I'm a dancer too, or I did that. You see what I'm saying? So get clear on that. What else? What else do they do? Um, yeah, other ways, if you're observing them and you're still not quite sure what they're interested in because what you're observing is them mostly being on a screen, then get in their heads. Ask them how they feel. Ask how they feel. Ask what they be doing. What you doing on that phone all the time? Ask a question. Can you show me? Show me what you like about it. Like, we gotta ask questions like that. You know what I'm saying? Expose them to different things. All of these things help them to grow into a fully expressed individual. This is also when they begin to explore their sense of self. They want to know, who am I outside of this family unit? That's a question that begins to simmer in the beginning of that stage. And at the height of that stage, which we're going to get to the next stage next, that question is likely to start to be informing a lot of decisions and behaviors. Yes, exactly. Ray is saying that his grandma in Georgia used to do that to him, talking about like asking those kinds of questions, right? Yeah, my mom was famous for asking me, "What you thinking about?" And I'm just like, "Huh?" And then she's just like, What are you thinking about? What exactly? Why are you always in that room?" Yes, because see the OGs, I feel like perhaps my mother and your grandmother could be from the similar generation because my mother was older than my mom had me later in her life. So my mom was the same age of a lot of my friends' grandparents. So she ain't had no problem asking me the questions. Why are you doing that? Right? What does that mean? Why do I hear you saying this phrase all the time? I used to say this is in my adolescent phase. I used to always say, "We rolling squad deep, squad deep." Yeah, we went to the party. We was squad deep, and I used to say it all the time. And my mom, I guess, finally got enough of it. She had enough, and one time she just came and popped in and said, "What the hell is a squad D?" And I was like, "Huh? I don't know. What is a squad D?" And then she was like, "I'm asking you. I'm always hearing you on the phone talking about how you was squad D this and squad D that." And I was like, "Oh, you mean squad deep? It just means I had all my friends with me." And she was like, "Oh, okay." But you see what I'm saying? She heard me saying something over and over again that clearly was something that was important enough for me to keep saying it over and over again with such enthusiasm, but she didn't know what the heck it was. And she was like, "What is she talking about?" Because I need to know my child, she's not an adult. She is developing. So I need to get in here real quick and check in and see, like, is this something I need to be concerned about? Shout out to my mother because I'm so grateful that she raised me in that way. You know what I'm saying? Another story around that same, well, a couple years before then, because we're talking about how um, that exploring who you are, your sense of self, how it's a question that begins to simmer at the beginning of that stage, this young childhood, starting from 8 to about 12. And at the height of that stage, that 11, 12, it's that question really starts to inform some things that we do. So another story, man. This whole presentation is just full of story time. But check it out. In my young childhood phase, which was also at that time overlapping with the tween phase, which we're about to get into after this. I had some middle school friends, and I loved those friends, and we decided that we were going to turn ourselves into a gang, and we came up with a name for ourselves, and we called ourselves Click Taboo. I'm gonna type it in the chat for you, mind you. It wasn't my idea. It was the name. Did I spell that right? Hold on. Click. Uh-huh. This how the name wasn't my idea. Okay? But I've been who see, come on with this now. So the essence of who you are is always who you are. So like the same talents and skills and gifts that Retro Recap and Retro Gang sees in me that I use to support Retro Gang, my homegirl saw that in me in middle school too. So basically the same shit that I was be doing for Retro Gang, that was the role that I took inside of our clique. I typed up our handbook, okay? I made sure everybody knew what was what. Like that's how City John been getting down. All right, honestly. So I typed up the handbook for Click Taboo, TABU, because you see how I typed it in the chat, how it's not spelled like traditional taboo, and how taboo actually stands for something. TABU. I'm gonna take a sip of my water, and I'm gonna see if anyone in the chat wants to guess what Click Taboo was about in middle school. And after my water, if y'all don't guess in the chat, then I'm gonna let y'all know what was going on. Trying to find a sense of self, just exploring who am I? And that's the thing about it, Savage AJ, and thank you for being here. Yes, here's the thing. I wasn't even the ringleader though, but I wasn't. Savage AJ is in the building. Thank you so much for being here, my brother. Love to see you. Talking about some holistic tips for parents and caregivers for summer vacation. So grateful that you're here. Rooftops and alleys is the last thing that Savage AJ was doing on his stream. Y'all go ahead and check him out. You already know, Savage AJ, the brains. So when you were the brains of the operation, technically you are the ringleader, but you can't be telling a ringleader that. Shh. Come on. So, y'all, taboo stood for. I got to come up. I got to come up close for this. Taking all bitches under. Let that sink in. These little middle school hussies talking about some click taboo taking all bitches under. What does that mean? We had a handbook. I could probably still find a handbook in the basement if cause I'm sentimental like that. I keep shit like that. So okay. So what happened? My mother and my sister, remember I told you that my mother had me older when she was more of like an elder. My mom had me basically when she was around the same age I am now. So my eldest sister was also significantly older than I was. Um, about 11 years. So, and I wasn't like a sneaky child, but because I feel like I was pretty much allowed to be myself. I didn't really get, shut down in that way a lot at home. So I didn't do a lot of like hiding things. So it wasn't like they found the handbook so much as they just like saw it because I didn't hide things. So we had to have a family meeting because they wanted to know what is the meaning of this. And they had to make it real clear and they said, baby girl, like, this ain't you. What do you mean, click taboo, taking all bitches under? Who are you fighting? You ain't fighting nobody because you're not a fighter. Like, you haven't ever been in a fight. So, what is this that you're doing? But that was just me in my young childhood phase exploring my sense of self. You see what I'm saying? Balancing innocence and maturity. So, needless to say, I did put down my gang banging ways after that. Okay. I didn't have to get jumped out of Click Taboo because I didn't get jumped in. But they did want to, rest assured that I was no longer going to engage with allowing us to call ourselves that. You know what I'm saying? So that's just an example, family, of how that works. And it was a conversation. It wasn't like I wasn't in trouble or anything like that. It was just you know, and that's why I continue to say shout out to my mother because by the time she had me, she got it right in terms of like I need to learn how to have more conversations with the child instead of just being like you're wrong. You know what I'm saying? So having those conversations allowed me to provide help me provide more depth and context to that sense of exploration. Okay. Um, And so with that comes that balance of innocence and maturity. This is the stage that is bridging the little kid and the big kid. You see what I'm saying? They little the children at this stage are going to start to get exposed to things that you may not, as the adult, be aware of, nor that you can even control as their caregiver. You see what I'm saying? I can't control what they're exposed to. Hell no, you can't control what they're exposed to. Do you know how many times I had to have conversations in the classroom telling children, like, I don't know. I know you ain't get that from in here because I don't show y'all things like that on our screen, but wherever you saw that, I can tell by how you're responding to me in this moment that what's not appropriate. So why would you come into this classroom and put that on the screen and show other children? What if their mom and dad don't want them to see that? What if their mom and dad haven't told them about that part of life yet? And now you didn't just told them about this part of life that they don't know nothing about, and then, right? I used to have to talk to first graders like that. Then gotta go and tell the parents, hey, this is what something that happened in class today, and during reading time, this website was pulled up and people were looking at it. You may want to have a conversation with your child tonight about what they saw and what it made them think about, and how you're gonna move forward from here, right? Because that's real. It's gonna happen at some point, but it can happen with more ease and more clarity and in a little bit of a healthier way if we as the adults learn how to take better control of that, right? And actually see it for what it is. If source, thank you. If I am balancing, if I am learning how to balance innocence and maturity, don't don't chew me up, right? If you look at me and you see that I might be in doing something, or I may have said something that from your perspective came out in a way that might be a little bit more mature or a little bit grown, don't call me fresh, don't call me fast, right? Understand that I am learning how to balance innocence and maturity. And now, as the adult, it's time to check in. Learn. How do he know about that? Where were they exposed to it? And now have a aligned and a developmentally appropriate conversation to help them navigate it. Because they, in their own being, are learning how to balance it. It's not a linear thing. It's not a checkpoint thing. It's not like, 15 years old now. Now the checkpoint went down, so I can talk about this now. That's not how it goes. You see what I'm saying? So if I'm learning how to balance those parts of myself, help me learn how to balance them. Don't chew me up and spit me out and say that I'm wrong when I may have said something. Yeah, children say things that cross boundaries all the time because they're learning. So help them. Help them remember where the boundaries are. It's not always to punish them or make them feel bad about it, but to redirect them. It's about redirection, okay? Um, it's natural, right? Children are naturally curious beings, and human nature loves to share. Sis, what's good? Welcome, welcome. So grateful to have you here. How's your day going? What's the vibe? What's the word? And how's your day going? Thank you for coming to visit. We are doing our school days, summer vacation edition. Hey, sis, thank you so much for the resub. You already know. Oh my goodness. 26 months. I cannot believe it, sis. Or yes, I can. That's not true. I actually can believe it because me and sis, we go deep and we go thick. Thank you so much. I love you so much. No, 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 you not. We are taking that. Ooh, return to sender, whoever and whatever is going on that making you feel that way. We're gonna send that energy right back to them and let them deal with it. You heard? We're gonna let them deal with that. Okay? Yep. And it's coming. You wanna know why it's coming? I promise you. On my side of the screen, how I can see the stream counter that's telling us how long we've been live. This just came up. One as we were having this conversation, 1, 2, 3 just came up. All right, danger number 1, 2, 3. The next step is clear. You already know what to do. Take action, and the path ahead will reveal itself. Trust that you have everything you need. Okay, that message could be for you, sis. All right, I will also encourage you to look up. I think, do I have this one in here? I might not, but this one also came. This number also came up just now while we were talking. It does. 1234. This number confirms you're being guided in the right direction. Keep showing up. Don't rush the outcome. Your consistent action is aligned with a greater plan. One step at a time is the key to unlocking your next level. Okay? Yes. Right on time and right for you. Because Spirit always know. Okay? Spirit always know how to orchestrate everything in the most divine way. So that is annoying. When that happened in the building that I live in, it used to happen quite frequently. And I remember sending an email to the property office, the management office downstairs, and just requesting politely um, that it would be appreciated. And if I can find an email, sis, I'll share it with you, and you can send the draft. You can see the draft and copy and paste, or reword it how you want to, or whatever, or you just take the idea. I wrote an email to the office and just told them that it was how much we would appreciate it. The residents would appreciate it if they would give us a courtesy to let us know before they're going to be doing that, because many of us have children, are working from home, caring for elderly. I put things like that in there, and just basic like living courtesy. It's just we can know. And after sending that letter, lo and behold, sis, the next time that they shut water off for some kind of work, we received a written notice and an email 24 hours in advance. So when I get off stream today, I'm gonna forward you that. I'm gonna look for it inside of my own email, and I'm gonna forward it to you, and then you take it and do what you need to do with it. Because yes, sometimes they don't even think about it. Sometimes, and this is I also said this. I reminded them, like, for you it's a place where you come to work, but for us it's a place where we actually live. So sometimes they just don't. They're not always thinking about it from that perspective. For sometimes they're thinking about it like, yeah, I gotta go here and clock in, and I get to clock out. But they're not thinking about it from the perspective of where I go clock in is someone's actual living space where they deserve 200% of the time to always feel comfortable, to always have what they need, to go turn on the sink and the water come out. And if it's not coming out, they should have been aware of that. Absolutely. So we sending you all the love, sis. You already know. Enough is enough. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to send you that template later on. Continue to look up 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because that also showed up. I don't have that as a command on here, I don't think. But when you see numbers show up like that in your external reality, as in order, sequential order, like 1, 2, 3, or 4, 5, 6, those sometimes indicate steps to be taken. So the fact that you came in here with that conversation, and then as we're going back and forth with it, 1, 2, 3 popped up. So is how that's one way that I work with those energies. Exactly, exactly. And it was and the time was 123 where you live. See where I live, where I'm at, it was 423. So you see how that works. See how and we Tiffy and I talk a lot about how we be connected synchronistically. The time was 123 where she is on the globe, but I was given 123 in the stream counter at the same exact time. So the message was for Tiffy. Here's your confirmation. Boom, there you go. Okay? And so that's whatever it's opening up for you right now. You just keep doing playing your part, crossing your T's and dotting your I's, and it's already unfolding. It's already done. So, okay, we were talking about the developmental highlights of the young childhood phase. So, and we're talking about balancing that uh, innocence and maturity, right? Um, Another way to get deeper into their heads and to get them talking more is to say things like instead of saying like did you have fun or how was your day, um because those questions just aren't engaging enough, you know, beyond getting like a yes or no response or it was good, it was all right. Ask things like, what interesting conversations did you have today? Or what was the mood today in class or at camp? Or how was the class behavior today? Did the teacher have to turn up on anyone? Did she turn up on you or any of your friends? You see them like ask those kinds of questions so they can start to really so you can get a clearer picture. Um, who did you help today? Or did you need help today? And what did you do when you needed some help? How'd you get it? Or you've been gossiping? You've been talking about people? Literally, ask the questions, okay? All this stuff has become part of like the autopilot that life just runs on. And we all know that these things happen, but we don't really give enough attention to the internal implications of them. Hell yeah, they was probably gossiping and talking about someone today. But it's so normal at this point that we're not always thinking about, yeah, but like energetically, what do that mean? And how is that going to impact them moving forward? It's less about telling them what they should do and more about hearing from them about how they feel about what's happening in their lives and then supporting them as they navigate their way through it. And we do that by teaching them through intentional modeling and thoughtful conversations. This is also the stage where they'll be finding that balance between the imaginary world and the real world. Okay? Remember, this stage starts at age 8, it ends approximately age 12. I was still playing with dolls until I was about 10 or 11. And I may have still played with other toys that wasn't dolls even after those ages, but that is around the time where I begin to focus more on what's going on in the real world and less in the imaginary world. Um, but it's a balance. It's not a complete removal of imagination. Imagination is still important. Okay? All right. If y'all have any questions about any of these stages or anything that we're talking about, make sure that y'all put it in the chat. And yes, I'm gonna send you a hug too, Tiffy, and some a big hug, some kisses, and go ahead and calm down. And I hope you get trust that you're getting some calm, good energy now, and you're just starting to relax. And they going to get that water on soon. But do you have what you need, or are you able to go do what you need somewhere else? Is that an option? Because that could also be fun if you catch my drift. All right, so let's move on now to hello, hello. I don't know why it's not changing for y'all. I can't, I can't call it. Okay, here we go. So let's move on to what they need at this stage. Okay, they need space to explore. Independence, unstructured play, and media um, use in moderation. Okay. Children learn by experience and exploration, and they need space to explore and will learn best in the method that aligns best with their energy type. So, different energy types have different learning styles, and different developmental stages align best with different methods of learning. Like play based is more common in earlier stages, right? And sometimes as we grow, we don't, it'll need to be play based all the time, right? So the developmental stage is also going to inform the way that learning best takes place. So observe your child to see how they learn. Do they need lots of practice? But when they do practice enough, they're a whiz at whatever it is? Or do you notice that they prefer to do things themselves and they don't really like to ask for permission to make a move? Or do you see that they um, don't like ask for help a lot, but they still be making a lot of mistakes, even if they're not asking for help? But then they kind of figure their way through it after a while. It may take a long time, but they figure it out. Those are all different ways of learning, and they're all linked to our personal energy. So so for example, the school traditional school system and the traditional like work system prefers the learning style where if I give you something and you practice it enough and practice it, you'll be a whiz at it and you can just go forth and be independent and do your thing. That's great. But that's only one method of mastering learning. And that's not the only way. Because I just told y'all some of the other ways. Like people who just move quickly without really letting a lot of people know what's going on. They're not asking, can I do this? Can I do that? They're just doing it. People who are learning through trial and error, making mistakes, and it's like, dang, are they ever going to figure it out? Yeah. And that's their process. So when we see in early childhood and young childhood stages, and we see sometimes children doing that, we sometimes want to go in and fix, but that could be the way that they are designed to learn. So that's why I'm saying just use the time, especially in summer, because it could be so unstructured. Use the time to just observe that, because those are clues to how they may best learn, and responding to that can help support their learning, make it easy, make it even fun for them, because now you accept their unique learning style, and it could be a mirror for them accepting their own learning style and opt out of the competition that can sometimes be breeded in that school environment where everyone doesn't learn and work the same way, right? Um, they need independence in healthy doses. It's important as long as it is safe and remains within healthy boundaries. Um, at this stage, it is important for them to have independent space. It's not that you don't need to check in with them at times, but they need independent space to explore and think and even make their own decisions. And then, of course, you check in and support them with navigating through it. It's not about making sure that they make every single perfect right decision for themselves. They got to make some screwy decisions sometimes so they can learn how to problem themselves out of it. But your support, right? Your support is there to help them navigate through it. Um, Unstructured play is another form where they can find independence. It helps them to practice that problem solving. It helps with social interactions. It helps them with them getting to learn how their own minds work. So if you're able to observe some of those unstructured playtimes, please do. Just peek in, so you can get a sense to see how their minds work too. Just observe though, okay? Create an environment where they feel free to just play and be themselves, because you want the more free children feel to be naturally who they are, the more mistakes they will make. Mm-hmm. And then you can really help them. What The more mistakes they'll make, yeah, because they'll feel free to do so. They'll just feel free to make the mistake. They won't feel like they have to walk on pins and needles and do everything right because the big mighty adult is watching. They'll know that they have room to kind of mess up a little bit, and then they'll take that liberty knowing that the adult that they trust will be there with the appropriate guardrails to support them, kind of like bumper cars, if you will, right? Because you're like the bumper as the adult. Um, hey, retro recap, welcome back. What's going on with you, and how you vibing today? I'm. Oh, thank you, retro. I really appreciate that. I've been doing what they say, drinking my water, minding my biz. Um, and doing all of the energetic work necessary. So yeah, thank you for acknowledging that. You getting ready to leave out to do your IRL with Quan. Everyone have a good time. We're gonna come visit y'all after that. Don't worry. When we finish, when class is out, I'm sending recess right on over to y'all. So don't even worry about that. I'm so grateful for your presence and grateful for you just in general. So thank you for being here, and thank you for coming through and visiting. And remember, if people need this information, retro, you know where to send them. All right. We're talking about right now what the young childhood stage, what they need during this stage of development. Um, No, no, real talk. Like, I take the glass and replace it with any of that. Put it right in my hand. Take it right to my mouth. Talking about water now, y'all. Talking about water. All right. Recess ain't come up yet. Now, um, you were talking about, yeah, children feeling safest to make mistakes with an adult that they know is not going to always tear them up a new one just because they made a mistake. Okay. More time out of school means what, y'all? It means more time with those devices. Okay. So it's really important to moderate that, especially for our young childhood um, developers. One, because it's just not, it's physically, right, it's just not good for the eyes and brain to be on the screen for that long. And I'm guilty. Okay, let me just be really freaking honest right now and very like transparent about how much screen time I used to give first graders in the classroom. It was not okay, especially considering that they're going to go home and have more screen time. I should have been a lot more diligent. You know what I mean? But I know better now. I wouldn't ever structure a classroom with so much screen time. So monitor their screen time, give it to them in moderation, not just for the physical and brain and eye health, right? But also because at this stage, children are impressionable, all right? They're impressionable about what they see, and their developing brains and emotions can really do without that information overload and the culture vultures. They're like competing for their attention, which is easily caught because that's the stage of development that they're in. Okay, so you can find more constructive ways to use the screen and the internet and social media time, like using it to engage with those things that they started to show that they're interested in, and be clear about who they engage with online, and make sure that they're aware of internet etiquette and safety. I can't tell y'all how many times I used to have to tell my students in the first grade classroom, I don't care if you are allowed to watch Mr. Beast at home. You gonna learn that I'm not the adult that you could even think about asking to watch Mr. Beast with. Because I don't know. How is a content creator for children named Mr. Beast anyway? And are y'all even really paying close attention to what this man be doing? Anyway, that's not the purpose of this conversation. And we don't really dump on other content creators. That's not the vibe that we create here. But we do keep it real though. So like just think about that. That's his name is Mr. Beast. Some of the content is really not child friendly, but it's engaging. It captures attention. It's colorful. Shout out to Rayla Flame who sent a post a couple days ago about color psychology and how as you flow through different developmental stages, right? The post was talking about how in kindergarten it's bright, right? All these different colors and stuff. And then when you get to first grade and you start to move up different, the school ladder, it gets less and less colorful, less bright, less attractive. Okay, well the algorithms on social media, they didn't forget that younger children are very attracted to the glitzy and glam and the brightness of the colors. Okay, so be mindful of who they're watching, how much time they're watching. If they're in chat rooms, you better monitor that shit. Okay, because they need to be aware. They may learn some of those things in school, but it's also your job to make sure that they know because you're the primary adult in their lives to keep them safe. Okay, stop outsourcing all this stuff, all this responsibility to the school and the classroom because it's not all on them. Um, so that is what they need. I'm just trying to change my screen here, and I don't know why it's not doing it. Yep, you know, Ray. You know. Hold on. All right, so highlights, y'all. I don't know what's going on. Hold on. All right, y'all saw that slide already. I want y'all to see what is next, what they need. All right, I want y'all to see the next slide. Ray know. Ray know what they need. All right, Ray. This is what I meant. Ray, this is a quick sidebar, and we're gonna get right back to it, y'all. When I told you right a few days ago how I would prefer to do my presentations on StreamYard, this is why. Because the slides get so sticky on Streamlabs, and it just makes the process like not as smooth as how I would like it. That's exactly why. And you seeing it in real time. So what do they need at this stage? This is the adult moves, okay? What do the adult what should the adults be doing or providing for the young child during this stage of development, or no, during the summer while they're in this stage of development? Okay? Let me say that again to make it clear. What do the adults do for children in this stage of development in the summertime? No. What do adults do for children in the summertime who are in this stage of development? There we go. Provide for them space to explore, provide experiences for them to explore, entertain open conversations, find some extracurriculars or sports, things in the community to do, and remain involved in their lives. Remain involved in what they're doing. Okay? So you know, take them out to provide experiences for them to socialize, for them to see the world, and for them to get to know what they like, and for you also to get to know what they like. Um, Learn how they think, like how Ray's grandma used to ask, "What you always doing? What you doing in that room all the time?" Or how my mom used to ask me, "What you thinking about?" You know, ask them the question, and if they're like nothing, you know, get creative. Did you ask them? Did you see that thing that just happened? Were you paying attention to that? And if they say no, then what were you thinking about that made you not? You see what I'm saying? Because they were thinking about something, but they didn't. You know, and we helped them get clued into. Oh yeah, there was something going on behind my eyes, right? Don't assume that they didn't want to tell you. Don't assume that they didn't want to tell you. Don't assume that they lying to you or trying to keep secrets. Assume that they don't know how to tune into it, and by you questioning them, you're helping them with connecting, reconnecting, and learning how to tune into what's going on in their inner world. Does that make sense? Okay. What are some of these things that they could do? Dance school or classes, acting, modeling classes, welding, all kinds of art, little leagues, Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts, church choir, coding, all kinds of different things that you could get children into. Gardening, biking, right? Equestrian, depending on what's available in your area, all kinds of things. And then when it comes to our involvement in their lives, family nights, game nights, movie nights, pizza night, doing arts and crafts together, going out together. Those moments are important at every level, but especially and as the younger that we are, but at every level. But then even as adult children, don't we like when our parents call us and say, oh, hey, you want to go to dinner? So it benefits at every level, but especially during those young developmental cycles. Um, so remain in their lives, be involved. The independent time doesn't mean that we're like letting them be left to their own devices, but it means that we're giving them space to grow in their own silence. Okay, because that's when growth happens. Don't growth happen in silence, right? Don't you wake up one day and you look at your little cousin and you're like, oh my goodness, like how'd you get so tall? Growth happens in silence. Okay, so allow them that independent time and time to be with themselves and time to be silent. And if you're listening and you're like, oh girl, I can't do that, I leave my child alone for 2 minutes and they'll be getting into this, that, and the third. I would ask you, like, prove that to me. Like, how do you know? Right? It's easy. How do you know that if you leave your child alone for 2 minutes that they would start getting into mischief? I need to see the proof. If you can prove it to me, right, then we can have a conversation about, okay, great. Let's let me guide you through how to support your child through more responsible handling when they're having independent time, because clearly they haven't yet grasped that to be responsible means I know how to maintain myself without someone having to watch me, like without having to be guarded or surveilled. Do you need someone to watch you to do the right thing? I used to ask that to students all the time. Does someone need to be watching you in order for you to do the right thing? Or can you do the right thing without someone needing to watch you? Whatever the answer is not good or bad. It just tells me how responsible you are. It just helps me know how much responsibility to give to you more independently. If I need to watch you, why do you think I give everyone chores in the classroom? You think how many arms you see? I got two arms. You think I want to spend all the time cleaning up? No, y'all can do those things too, right? So why do I give y'all chores? So we can help and we can clean up too? Yeah. And what has anyone ever noticed what I'm doing when y'all see me when we get into chore time and y'all start cleaning? Oh well, we see you getting the homework together. Yeah. Can you get the homework together? No. All right then. So let me ask you, if you're supposed to be sweeping so I can get homework together so we can all get out the classroom on time, if I have to stop doing homework so I can watch you sweep to make sure you do it the right way, who should be sweeping? What you think they said? They pointed to me. You, yeah, I should be the one sweeping because clearly I'm the one with the responsible mindset to do it. Let it settle for a little bit. So what you think? Now that we've had this conversation, do you think that you could actually do this? Do you think you could do the job? Right? This is your job, right? And if you can't, let me know because I will give it to someone who's more responsible, who can handle it without me having to watch them do it. Or I'll restructure the entire thing so I can make sure that the sweeping gets done and homework gets done and we can still get out of here on time. Right? But it's okay to have that conversation and to involve yourself in that way. Um, okay. So that is how to support our um, our young childhood. Any questions? Y'all know what to do. Put them in the chizzy. And let's move on to our next level, which technically is still in the young childhood stage, but it's the bridge to adolescence. So